Hi folks, Mythicodium here. I thought today we can talk about the monster stat blocks for DC20, 1D&D, and Pathfinder. Now I want to look at the overall designs. What works, what doesn't work, and how I would change them around for my tastes. Now I'd love to hear what you think about stat block design in the comments as well. So let's get on with the topic for today, shall we? First, let's start with the stat block for the new D&D version. Now we only have one that was shown by another YouTuber, and of course the folks over on Reddit cleaned it up, recreated the image, so thank everyone for all those visuals. And this is the Sphinx of Wonders. The stat block shows that it is a tiny, celestial, lawful good creature. Now we have AC, just abbreviated, not written out as armor class, HP, again, just the abbreviation, speed, and then its initiative. What is very noticeable is that initiative has a passive score. So you can just plop the monster into the initiative order once the players roll. It can really speed up combat, which is a little bit nice, especially when you have multiple monsters. Then we have the Excel chart of ability scores, modifiers, and saves. Truly, D&D should just use the modifiers and drop the scores. As I've said in other videos, the scores are absolutely meaningless. But having the save beside the modifier is a good addition, as this allows the developers to modify saves if they want to. Again, this is only one stat block that has been shown, so we'll have to wait and see for more complex monsters. Now, next up is what I consider an unnecessary section, and that theme is going to run through each of the different stat blocks. Skills, senses, languages, CR, again, abbreviated. The only thing that should be kept in this section is the resistances, but let's move past that. The final three sections are traits, or passive abilities of the Sphinx, actions, and reactions. Now, under actions, they've tightened up the attack by removing the one target that has appeared on most of the current creatures, because it's pretty much assumed that unless it states multiple targets, such as an area of effect, it is just a single creature. Now, under the reaction, it gives a trigger for the burst and then the response. Now, notice that these are all capitalized, italicized, and bolded. Now, this really helps pick out the keywords that a GM needs to pick out at a glance. So what do I like about it? Very clear fonts, highlighting keywords, reducing the clutter of words to abbreviations, and I do like me a good Excel chart. So I do like that all the ability stats are all there, including the saves, which have been ambivalent in the current stat blocks. Now, average damage shown again can speed things up, especially if there's a lot of dice such as a fireball or a high level sneak attack. What I don't like about it, the order of things, the very small AC and hit points at the top. When we get to the DC20 version, you'll see what I mean. Now, I'll show you an edited stat block that I would rather see later in the video. So next up is the Pathfinder Remastered Sphinx. Now this is a higher level creature, so it does have a few more things to it. But we can see right off the top, it is a level 8 creature. It has the tags large, beast, and humanoid. Now these tags are used for things like recall knowledge and spells and abilities that would affect those specific tags. The next section, again, is something that I would move. To me, languages, skills, and even the bardic lore are things that can be moved to the bottom, as these things do not come up in combat as much. There's a split, and then we see the AC, saves, and hit points. These have always been abbreviated, so no change from the pre-remastered versions. Then we get into the plethora of abilities. For those that do not GM Pathfinder, and I really hope you do check it out at some point, the diamonds within the abilities show how many actions that ability takes. So the melee is a single action. The agile tag tells the GM that the multiple attack penalty is -4, -8 instead of -5, -10. Damage is simplified, but does not have an average damage on it. Really would have been nice for that to be included for the GMs that just want to speed up their combat damage. Now, Paizo devs did add all the keywords into the actions and have capitalized them, such as strike under the claw rake, which takes 3 actions for those that have never seen that kind of symbol. Now, I am surprised that hidden is not capitalized. It is a special game tag that does have specific rules around being hidden. And capitalizing that would have been a prudent thing to do to trigger a GM to know that it means more than it's just hiding, but a specific set of rules, especially as they have done with stride and strike. They're capitalized in the sentence before. Hidden is a powerful condition that creatures need to succeed a flat check to target the Sphinx with an attack or spell or other effects. So what do I like about this stat block? The colored tags at the top, the level very clearly on the top line. Perception is tied to initiative, and trying to sneak around the Sphinx with stealth. So having that at the top is a very good spot. The actions are clear and the action markers are set very easily, so you know what you can do in your combat turn. The Riddler's Rune has some RP notes and gives the GM some setup to the encounter with the Sphinx. Now, what am I not a fan of? Again, the languages, skills, bardic lore being all up at the top. The ability modifiers are also not really key, as saves are already set, and rarely do you have a stat being opposed in Pathfinder. Stealth is rolled against a perception plus 10, so like on this stat block of 28. Athletic attempts are rolled against 4 to reflex save if you're attempting that sort of thing, like a shove or a trip. So again, not really necessary. And once again, I will show you my modified stat block in a bit. But let's look at the final stat block of the 3. DC 20 stat block for a low-level creature, the bear. So the first thing that pops out to me is the hit point is big and bold, and I love that. I really, really do love that. The defenses are right there as well, with PD being physical defense, MD being mental defense, as well as the PDR and MDR, which are physical and mental damage reductions, resistances, which it has a 0, so it's not a big deal, but it's going to be up there with all the rest of the stat blocks. Then we get to the thing I hate the most, a useless set of information. Now, when I say useless, I mean during combat. All that information should be dropped to the end of the stat block, as it is the least useful information when a fight kicks off. Next, we have features, which in DC 20 is another word for traits or passives. The final entry is the attacks, reminding us that you have 4 actions per turn, which is standard. So not exactly sure why there is that there, unless there will be some creatures that get less or more per turn. I don't know. This shows how many actions: 1 for the bite or claw and 2 for a swipe. The attacks, save DC, and speed are above all these entries, which again saves space, as you do not have to repeat that an attack has a +4 or a save DC has a ability of 14. Every single one is the same. So the enhancement section adds abilities for more actions in a turn. Add 1 action, have the bear grapple, or add 1 action, have the bear add a power, which gives it another point of damage. Now remember that in DC 20, damage is static and usually 1 point, and then you add in maneuvers or abilities or higher success rolls to increase that kind of damage. Now, what do I like about this stat block? The hit points being front and center. The defenses are clear, big and bold, and right there with the hit points. What would I change? The block of skills, senses, etc. Not needed at a glance during combat. Now let's look at the big bad in the Hunted adventure, available for free on the Dungeon Coach's website, the Crassus. I want to show you the reaction section of the Apex features. Now, I won't comment that there's no way this thing is a level 1 creature, though, likely level 3. In Pathfinder, this would be a severe encounter or even an extreme. So DC 20 has not shown the leveling yet, at least not that I've read. So I would assume that they will include experience points, as D&D does their stat block as well. Now, Pathfinder uses a completely different way to earn XP based on party level and the level of the creature. So that's never shown on the stat block, as it doesn't really exist as a concept like that. Okay, how would I change the layout of these stat blocks? As you can see in each one, the hit points would be in a block or bolded like the DC 20. In each case, I would move languages, skills, etc., that whole section to the bottom of the block. Things that I do not need to be looking for in mid-combat. I need the defenses, the attacks, the reactions, etc., and I move them up to the top. For Pathfinder 2e, having an average on the dice rolls would be great. Perception for initiative, damage, etc. DC 20 does not have initiative for the monsters. It has a you-go-I-go system for combat, so it doesn't have that stat block. Now, I believe that the things you as a GM need for combat need to be the easiest to see at a glance. Now, I can already see some of the combat saying, well, not every encounter is a combat, which is absolutely true. But that is not what a stat block is meant for. It is meant for when shit hits the fan and you, the GM, declare roll for initiative. That is what a monster stat block is for. If you're not going into combat, 90% of the stat block is not needed. That is the 10% at the bottom. The skills, languages, and in case of the Pathfinder Sphinx, the bardic lore, and the Pathfinder ability modifier section can all go down to the bottom. For DC 20 and D&D, the actions and reactions are the most important items in combat. The features or traits are up next, hence why I dropped them down below the attacks and reactions. All the stat blocks have good use of bolding, italics, and capitalization to emphasize very important information that is vital to a combat encounter. Is it perfect? For me, yes. For you, I don't know, maybe? Let me know in the comments what you think of the stat blocks. What would you change? Do you think mine are better or worse? Now remember that DC20 is still in beta 0.8 and they have a long way to go and a lot of time to change stuff. The monster manual for D&D is likely at or in the final steps of going to the printers for October, because they will be releasing it in February. So it takes about 4 months or so to get it printed and to them. So it's going to be wrapping up very quickly. The Monster Core for Pathfinder 2e is already out, but there's always time to swap things around for other books. Well, that's it for me today, and I will see you all in the next video. If you're enjoying the content and want to see more, please hit the like and subscribe button. Ring that bell for new notifications and leave a comment below or just your favorite emoji and hit share to help this video in the infamous YouTube algorithms. Perhaps join my Patreon or hit the YouTube membership. Both provide exclusive channels in my Discord, among other perks. In the meantime, in between time, may all your games be full of myth, mirth, and magic. Bye for now.